We walk by faith and not by sight. That was a line from the second reading in today's liturgy, from the second letter of Paul to the Corinthians. And on this Father's Day weekend, I was thinking about someone that really sets a wonderful example for living that line, and that's Saint Joseph. Saint Joseph walked by faith and not by sight. Saint Joseph, the husband of Mary, Saint Joseph, the foster father of Jesus, Saint Joseph, the patron of our own parish, Saint Joseph, the patron saint of the universal church. He walked by faith and not by sight. As I was thinking about our Saint Joseph for this Father's Day weekend, there were three thoughts that I had that I'd like to share with you today for your own reflection. One, Saint Joseph was often perplexed. I love that word. It sounds like what it means, perplexed. I just don't understand. Saint Joseph, secondly, was also in the margins of life. Jesus and Mary seemed to get the spotlight far more than Joseph. He was in the margins. And third, Saint Joseph knew what it was like to feel a loss, the pain of loss. So first off, Saint Joseph was often perplexed, beginning with his engagement to Mary. And then he finds out from her that she's pregnant, and he is not the father. And he's torn to trust in Mary's word to him or to accept what just seems so obvious. He was perplexed. He didn't understand. We find ourselves like that, don't we? Things that happen in life that we just don't understand. They're perplexing. Why do people hate us when we try to do good? Why did September the 11th happen? Why do families break up? Why do children kill each other, even at school? We don't understand. And Saint Joseph knew what that was like. And what does Saint Joseph encourage us to do? Don't just stand there, get busy with what you can do. He took his pregnant wife with him to Bethlehem for the census, and he found a place for Mary to deliver her son when the time came. Herod was threatening to kill all the children. He was jealous of the newborn king. So Joseph took his family and they went to Egypt. They were in flight, like the Von Trapp family, fleeing the Nazis and the Sound of Music. Joseph supported his family. He was a carpenter. And Joseph taught Jesus the carpenter's trade. What does Joseph tell us to do when we're perplexed, when we just don't understand? He's saying, well, get busy with what you can do. Become even more kind, even more compassionate. Don't give up on what you believe and in whom you believe. Do your duty. Don't give up. Do what you can. So Joseph was like us that way and gives us good advice when we're perplexed. Second, Joseph knew what it was like to be in the margins. We don't find a whole lot about Joseph in the Gospels. And in fact, not a single word of Joseph is recorded in the Gospels. Joseph in some way is like the Lone Ranger. And people would say, who was that masked man? We don't know much about Joseph. We do know that Joseph had dreams in life, and he followed them. We do know that Joseph extends himself to any of us who feel like we're in the margins, to those who maybe don't feel very popular or see themselves as not being very attractive, or are hurting, or grieving, or poor, or in trouble, in the margins of life. And what is Joseph's advice? What does Joseph say to us? He says, keep your faith and keep dreaming that things can get better with God's help. Keep the dreams alive. And Joseph would say, now remember, Mary of Nazareth became the Queen of Heaven. And the little baby born in Bethlehem became our Savior. And we could say about Joseph, and Joseph, who seemed to live his life in the shadows, not in the spotlight, now we all know as Saint Joseph. And third, Joseph knew what it was like to endure, to suffer losses. He lost his wife Mary to God, if you want to put it that way. She did God's will. Joseph gave Mary to God. Joseph lost Jesus when he was 12 years old in the temple. Imagine that pain. Not keeping track and having to go back and searching with anxiety until he and Mary found him. And Joseph lost his own life probably pretty early, because after Jesus was found in the temple at age 12, we don't hear another word about Joseph. Jesus begins his public life at age 30 without Joseph around. Joseph knew what it was like to endure a loss. And we have losses in our life. We lose a job. We lose a family member or a friend in death or in distance. We can lose our health. We can lose our independence. All kinds of losses in life. And what does Joseph tell us to do? Joseph tells us that God in his providence, God in his own good time, can take our loss and turn it into power, making us perhaps even more compassionate than we've ever been, or more ready to serve other people than we've ever been. That's really one of the secrets of AA. Turning weakness into power. How we can take a loss, and God can take that in his hands as a mustard seed, like today's gospel. A mustard seed that can grow in our strength, in our stature, in our compassion, in our love. If we put that seed, that loss, in the Lord's hands. And so, for any of us who can feel perplexed, or we just don't understand, who can feel like we're on the margin, who can feel like we've really suffered a loss, we look to our Saint Joseph for his prayers, for his encouragement, for his example. Saint Joseph, husband of Mary, foster father of Jesus, patron of our parish, patron of the Church Universal, show yourself to be a father to us. He walks by faith, not by sight, and so do we.